Hi there, welcome to PolitiBabble. My name's Ewan McClelland, and I'm joined by...
Brisha Shaw.
Archibald Elliott.
And Samro.
And today we're going to be doing education. Cool, right. So, education, that was the most awkward intro ever. I'm on the desk this week. Archie is hating it.
Yeah, he's...
Yes, the music is supposed to play out here, but we'll let that be.
We'll let Ewan
if
just
you've
have a bit
missed
of a
out
learning
on the
curve,
music, we're
because
so
it's
sorry.
the first time he's been on the desk. Okay, so this is my episode this week, hence why I'm sat on the desk, and Archie is very, very close to popping a vein in his head.
That's alright, it's alright.
I think if you can see on camera now,
Yeah,
you see
this
I'm
is
quite
the
relaxed.
fourth time we've do it.
His knees are shaking.
Obviously, yes.
I think we need to address the elephant in the room, which is that I've gone from not being on the podcast to being behind the desk this week.
We kicked him out last week, and then he came back on top this week because Sam's a pushover.
Mm-hmm,
Sam is a pushover. Thank you, Sam. Love you. No,
Okay,
I had a
cool.
I had a hell of a night last Thursday. I woke up, could not get out of bed for the life of me. I wouldn't have made it to the front door. Never mind Douglas. So
It's fine. We all know who's going to get
this is
cirrhosis of the liver at some point.
yeah,
yes.
like to be honest, I'm just getting you guys ready for when I go to uni. I'm not going to be able to be here. I'll still be on the podcast, but I'll be calling in.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
I thought we were kicking you out.
Yeah, no.
No, we're kicking
it's-
you out,
it's-
Brisha. Sorry.
Brisha, we don't need to
You
tell him
can't
yet.
kick me
We don't need to
out.
tell him later.
We can.
We're
We
doing
can't.
education, so I guess let's start with exam results, guys. So for context, for those who aren't in the know, which I'm like, how could you not be at this point?
This could be their
Everyone
first
has received-
episode.
What?
This
It
could be
could
their
be.
first episode listening.
This could be your first episode listening. Everyone's had their exam results the last 2 weeks, so I got my A-level results last week, which I've since had upgraded because the government did a U-turn because they genuinely don't know what they're doing. And you three have had your GCSE results yesterday.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we've all done,
So
we've all done well.
I think we've all
Yeah.
done well. I've made it into university, obviously.
We've all made it into sixth
Sixth
form,
form.
I think.
Woo,
This
woo,
one,
we
this
can
one
get rid
Archie's
of
like,
Ewan.
no, I haven't.
Yeah.
No, but I got downgraded in 2 subjects, and then
yeah.
it was nice to see that those 2 subjects have been now upgraded.
Yeah, I got that on history.
Yeah.
My other A-levels, I somehow managed to pull out the bag. So I'm just grateful to even be in university at this point.
Mm.
What a mood.
Archie, I presume you did well.
Yes. Yeah. Relatively.
Shock horror.
Yeah, we did good, guys.
Yes.
Well done.
We've done
It's
good.
over now.
Give ourselves a collective pat on the back and move on to education.
I think we still missed the part where Ewan still. Yeah. Oh, luckily this week I must say it was a surprise when we came into the sea terminal in Douglas. Ewan was there 10 minutes early. I was always sat there, but
I
you
beat
were
Sam
quite
and Brisha to the
early.
sea
I
terminal.
know it was. Shocking.
Honestly.
He was earlier
How
than
did I
me.
do it?
I was shocked.
It was
Yeah. It's because I wasn't drinking last night.
Yeah.
always a bonus. All right.
I almost was, so just be grateful I'm here.
Oh
Yeah.
no. If you
No,
did
We
turn up
need to
this
be
week,
grateful.
Yeah.
if you
Question
did
mark.
turn up this week, we probably would have kicked you out.
Yeah.
Sorry to tell you.
Anyway,
To use Ewan's catchphrase, it's okay, very cool.
Very
yeah.
cool, Brisha.
Well, ciao. Anyway, so
moving swiftly on.
just quickly before we get into it,
Oh,
big
no.
shout out to Alex Christie who listens to the podcast while he sleeps, which I think is how I would listen to this
Yeah.
podcast as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex. Very cool.
Lots of love
So-
to Alex.
I think a really good place to start would be just talking about how we feel the last couple of weeks have gone with the Department of Education, whether that be over here or in England. So, has anyone got anything specific?
Well, I'd say our Department of Education here,
Relies.
it doesn't really have any power over external exams because they're all regulated by the UK body Ofqual. So we're not. We have basically no power in exams and education-wise.
Yeah.
So the UK, I found it interesting how they said they weren't going to do a U-turn and then did a U-turn. It's like, at least if you say something, stick by what you say. I don't care what you do as long as you stick by what you say. That's one of my gripes. So in the first place, maybe they should have had that U-turn, say we will be making a U-turn, but not said we're not ruling it out completely and then make a U-turn. It's a bit odd.
I think my takeaway from the last couple of weeks is that Gavin Williamson has had... okay, so before I get into slagging off Gavin Williamson, he's a Tory, of course I'm going to slag him off, but before I get into that, what I've had on the Discord from specifically Ori and Ben is, other education ministers have also messed up the last couple of weeks, and like, yeah, that's fine and dandy and stuff, but I'm not doing their exam, so I don't really care.
Yeah.
Anyway, The thing is, I remember reading that Gavin Williamson has had like a couple months to prepare for this. He's known exams were going to be cancelled for a while. He knew this was all going to happen, and he's kind of just sat back and let it happen.
I think it's more the point he doesn't know the response. You never know the response to something's published. If you keep something under wraps and then you publish it, and they're like, we shouldn't have done this, then that's when you have to then make a return. You can always, in hindsight, it's a beautiful thing, and they know, in hindsight, we shouldn't have done that.
My
Ewan banged his head.
trapped
Yes.
in the
I do.
Very, very cool there, Ewan. Very cool. Just leading the conversation.
Anyway, so
Yeah, I get what you mean, Archie, but again, that doesn't really address the point that.
They don't
this,
do it.
There's no
this wasn't
perfect solution.
no, I agree, and this is it's not an impossible situation, but it's a really difficult situation that everyone's found themselves in. But like, it wasn't a surprise the exams were cancelled. It wasn't a surprise that there would have to be something else in place. And I think as well, the initial, before the U-turn, when they started to use what the teachers actually said the grades would be, I think it's a little bit symptomatic of how the government views teachers. There is a general consensus, it would seem, in the government that teachers aren't really, like, their opinions and what they think isn't that valuable. Like, and you see that on the island and in the UK, and I think it's a good thing that they've finally, through lots of protests and stuff and outrage, had to listen to the teachers. But it's a little bit worrying that they initially just ploughed on ahead with an algorithm that totally disregarded what the people we entrust education with said. Like, that seems really strange to me.
Yeah, I honestly, I couldn't agree with you more on that one, Sam. I think teachers have kind of become viewed as disposable, almost, as a profession. Because one of the career paths that I'm considering going down is being a teacher. My degree of choice is history of politics. I want to come back and be a history teacher and/or politics. But, like, the pay for teachers is abysmal for really what they do and the amount of effort they put in. And before someone comes at me like, oh, you don't know what you're on about, I've done work experience in my high school. I know I have a rough idea of what teaching is like. And for the amount of stuff that teachers actually have to do and have to go through, and aside from teaching itself, like, there's so much pastoral work and stuff that teachers have to do on top of their regular jobs, and they still get treated poorly for it. You still get parents coming in being entitled. There was a whole thing when I was on student council, and we'd interview teachers. There was a whole scenario about a parent coming in and being really mad at a teacher, and I think it's just kind of. I think teachers get a bad rap for what they really do.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, public sector pay isn't exactly brilliant. In the private sector, there's higher pay. That's the point.
Privatised education,
It's not
guys.
just teachers who get that pay cut, and you may think that needs to be addressed. And I think it all can be addressed not by raising tax, not by increasing the contributions to the income of the country, but more to efficient and effective spending. That's my manifesto message there. Effective and, more efficient spending.
Lovely. Very lovely.
Very nice.
Okay. Do you think teachers should be paid more, though, Archie? Which was sort of the crux of the question. Do you think teachers should be paid more than what they are?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
that's
And they are being
cool.
paid more. They had a 2.8% pay
Not
rise. I
head
think.
teachers.
Head teachers.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone had a 2%. There's a big public sector pay rise.
The thing is that
now
teachers
it's
have had a
growing
pay
rise.
freeze for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's not even going up with inflation.
Yeah.
Like, it's been bad. Teachers are, if you look at, like, how much money is worth, I can't remember what the exact terminology for it is, but teachers are being, basically, because they're being paid the same, they're being paid less due to inflation and stuff. I just think it's kind of poor.
And I do think there has been, because obviously there was a pay rise. But speaking as someone who both of my parents are teachers, like, I see every day firsthand how, like, I don't want to say I'll say how mistreated by the system that they are.
Yeah.
It's really they are seen as.
But Sam, it was their choice to go into teaching.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
They
They
chose to do that.
So, but yeah,
Lovely
so
accents there. Lovely
You're
accents.
welcome. You're welcome, guys. But I couldn't be a teacher. I hate kids. But
Very honest there.
Wow.
Bruce,
high
very
key
honest.
kids nowadays,
The
but
honest
like
kids.
quite a lot of kids, especially in our school. I think there are a lot of just.
I think we're the kids we hate.
Yeah.
in our school.
But there is an interesting question within the teaching, and maybe bring it more into politics. Should the teachers remain apolitical in the classroom, or should they teach along with what their kind of personal ideologies are?
Well, some subjects aren't, like, political. Like, you can't. It would be
No,
very hard
yeah.
to not be apolitical in a maths class. Or
Yeah,
something.
I'm talking about maybe more
So
opinionated
say we're
subjects.
studying algebra and conservatism. No.
I mean more in like subjects. So you look at the humanities, such as geography,
Sure.
history, or maybe even politics or philosophy.
Yeah.
Again,
example, in
history, I think there is just it's tricky to. You can be political with history. Obviously, people do it all the time, but
You and
also
us,
there is.
especially.
So
History is the politics of
Everyone
the
is.
past,
Well,
guys.
it is.
Quote there
History
from
is the
Ewan.
politics of the past. That will be inscribed on my gravestone.
But there is
Yeah.
There's-
Actually, on the topic of impartiality, shout out to Mr. Davies, my politics teacher, who's done a brilliant job the past year that I've been with him, of never showing any partisanship. He's told us he's voted in elections. We have no idea what party he voted for.
He could be SNP for all we know.
It's like going back to Ewan's gravestone. 2 weeks is that enough time to get inscribed?
Yeah, probably.
it'll manage. Yeah, but I do think, and obviously with things like history, obviously they should be taught along the basis of historical fact. We're not saying, but it is also important to note that every field of politics today is influenced by history.
Yeah.
So you can't teach them as if they're not linked. You can't deny that.
I agree.
Well,
I agree with that. It's more than you teach it from a non-biased view. So you then have you teach because the facts of history. You let the child make its own view rather than be coerced by a person in maybe a position of authority, which is,
Sure.
for example, the teacher,
No,
and it
Then-
coerces into
Well,
thought.
I agree with that, but I don't think, and I think what we're kind of skating around is, I think there is a big perception, certainly on the Isle of Man, and I can only assume in England, that all teachers are screaming leftists. There was that thing when we did like a Balcomine election, and I think it was done in some other schools, and a lot of the parents. It was a really
Basically,
light,
Labour won.
relaxed,
Labour
fun
won.
thing, and a lot of the parents got very angry, saying that teachers were washing their children into leftist zombies.
If you can't have teachers having an opinion on politics, because they might influence children, well then parents shouldn't be able to influence children on politics.
It's a good call, actually.
What I would
yeah.
say on bias in the classroom, especially when we're talking about history, is you get into historiography. So you say stuff about historical fact, but I think the fact of the matter is, especially in history, there's no such thing as a fact. You don't there's your opinion in what you've supported with an argument, and especially in like A-level politics, A-level history. Sorry, you get really into that. Like the whole part of the Cambridge course is on historiography of the Cold War. So your historiography, or like how you write about history, will come from your political view. So
yeah, no, absolutely, and it is that thing of because it's I don't think I am yet to find a source of history that isn't biased in some way.
yeah, I think as long as you acknowledge your bias, it's okay. But you have to acknowledge it. As long as you don't present what you think is your opinion as fact, then I don't really have any qualms with it. Although I do have a lot of respect for teachers that remain impartial in classrooms.
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot to do, especially someone myself who's obviously very outspoken about my political views. I have a lot of respect for people who have political views and don't, espouse them at every given moment,
Well,
especially in the classroom.
I think that's what makes, in my opinion, is a mark of a good teacher. My old RE teacher, for example, you can tell what on earth religion she was, and you see that is good because it makes the child. You just see it from a very just open perspective, rather than have a very just create an echo chamber that we must think one way. And brainwash the children. Yes.
There are two sort of schools of thought you can go with. You can go with either teachers should completely acknowledge their biases and go, this is my view, follow it or don't. I've acknowledged what my bias is, and you kind of have to take that with what you're learning. I think that comes in a lot more when you get to A level. And then you have the other one where it's just, I do not have a political view that you will ever know. And I've kind of seen a bit of both in the classroom, and to be honest, I think they both work quite well. But the one thing you don't do is present your opinion as fact.
There are still, obviously, maybe we're lucky not enough to have experienced maybe a politics as separate to education, but there are plenty of instances, maybe more prevalent in the UK, where none of you, I'm sure you can't disagree, there is a heavy left-wing presence within the education system.
Smart
more,
people
yeah,
are leftists.
the more educated you are, the higher chance of being a leftist. Is that what you're saying, Andy?
No, I was just saying
Is that what
within the teaching profession.
To be fair,
Because they work for the public sector,
Yeah.
and they've seen maybe the budgets have be cut because we have austerity measures which are necessary to reduce the deficit.
All right,
And
all
that
right,
then
necessary.
they've seen the maybe the effects of that, and maybe they don't like that, and some will like it and will stay right wing, and there is that kind of bias still
Yeah.
present in the
As-
classroom.
Again, as the child of two teachers, I'm going to push past the austerity comment. I'm just not going to even
Yeah,
rise to that.
that will devolve into an argument, and that is not what this podcast is about. This is a very nice coffee table chat about
Yeah.
politics.
Coming from
So
you
anything
and
we
there,
find as a sticking point, which is austerity and conservatism,
we will be
we're gonna brush-
addressing.
we're gonna brush past.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah. No, I think obviously, I think I would probably say the majority of teachers are, but even then, it really isn't all.
Yeah.
Like I know teachers that are right wing.
Yeah, I also know right wing teachers. I don't think it matters though, does it? Does
No,
really
it doesn't.
matter?
As long as they keep
Yeah.
obviously their political bias.
As long as
yeah.
you acknowledge your bias, I think it's okay to have a slant. Everyone's human.
Are we you though? I'm lizard person. Shh, didn't tell you that.
You would have to
The
be a
lizard
Tory.
people.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's I was reading a Guardian article earlier, and it did mention a quote by Margaret Thatcher on grammar schools. I'm just wondering, what do you grammar schools obviously they make it more selective, so they have they're still within kind of what you class as the state system per se, and you have the majority of grammar schools, and you have an entrance exam which then allows you to get in.
I think.
What do you think, Ewan?
I've had a lot of talk about grammar schools. Ben, if you're listening, will sure Ben's got some opinions on grammar schools. I think the thing is, if you take it as a sanitized view of, a school with an entrance exam that you get in on your own merit, I can respect that. I think that's okay. But what isn't sort of acknowledged in that debate is the inherent classism that comes with grammar schools. Like, grammar schools by themselves, great. I like the idea of letting smart people go to places where they can get the help that they need to succeed more, and people that maybe aren't so smart going to another institution that they can get the help that they need. I think divvying up the resources in that way might actually help. But I also think that having mixed ability groups can help a lot as well.
I'd say mixed ability groups, generally looking at statistics of it, it helps. It brings up the grades of those in the lower quartile and the mid-range, but also makes those at the higher end, in the upper quartile, then bring down. That's generally accepted.
I think there kind of needs to be a balance there, because I think separating the smart and the not so smart kids. Not stupid. You're not stupid if you're not super smart.
No.
Let me just say that.
There's intelligence is measured in many different ways.
Academic smart. Like the academics from the maybe not so academics. Maybe separating them isn't the greatest idea. To be honest, I think grammar schools are okay. I'm just not, because it ends up being a sort of postcode lottery with grammar schools. You were born into a wealthy middle class family, that you've been put in for the grammar exam. You've passed because you've been able to get that spare time of tutelage and stuff. Whereas if you're from, say, a lower income family, come time to enter for a grammar school, you might have to have a job. You might have to take care of siblings.
And there
have
are
to do other
then
things.
kind of methods to recognise that, which then helps.
I think if you
So
if you genuinely give the help that's needed to lower income students to actually access grammar schools, I'm down. I think that it could be okay.
Yeah, it's a question of opportunity,
Interesting.
I
Yes.
think. And in some instances, the opportunity is there, and people
Yeah.
choose to take it. That's great, and if they don't, that's just as good. The issue is, opportunity isn't always there.
Yeah.
It just isn't. There are lots of people who, because of where they were born or the family they were born into, don't have the same opportunity as other people. And I think any government, regardless of what you run on, should seek to rectify that and make sure that everyone has equal opportunity in their life.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Bruce, you got any takes on grammar schools? I mean, it's fine if you don't.
Well,
I
the
mean,
thing
I
is, we
think-
don't have any here.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
interrupt me there, Archie. That's fine.
Ooh,
Feminism.
shades.
This is a joke to the fact that before we started recording, Archie went on this massive little rant about how we shouldn't interrupt each other when.
I know. One thing I did
That
say
was
I
the entire
I was
conversation.
guilty of it. So I know
That was the
Anyway.
entire
I recognise that.
conversation in Manx Radio Lobby was about how we shouldn't interrupt each other when we're doing the episodes, guys.
I do plead guilty,
But so
Yeah.
I think grammar schools are okay, but I do think that there is obviously there is an unfair chance of getting in.
Yeah.
Like if I was from a very, very high income family and I went for a grammar school exam, say there's always this thing where if you have a last name and that last name's very wealthy, then people are obviously going to be like, oh, you have to let her in because she's she's a Shaw and they're very wealthy and they've got lots of money and, she's obviously very smart. Whereas, like, I could be, like, very not academically smart, but I could still get in because I'm a Shaw and it will look good that this grammar school has me in it because...
But the thing is, usually grammar schools are free with it.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
not with wealth.
the difference is higher income families have access to better education.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can hire tutors, you can do extra things, and usually children growing up there don't have to hold down jobs.
Yeah.
So you can't really say, yes, it is free, but currently in the way the system works, if you're a higher income family, you have access to better education.
I agree that it maybe gives you a better start, but not necessarily surname in allowing people in because they're not.
Yeah,
I think what Bruce is trying to
I
say
see
is
your
that
point.
higher income kids will always do better. It's it's an indisputable fact that if you come from a higher income household, you will do better in your exams.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really anything you can throw at us that will.
And Archie, we're not saying that happens every single time, 100% of the time.
Yeah, it's not a rule, but it is generally the case.
Yeah.
But then, would you follow then what was proposed in the last Labour conference? So, if I'm correct, in Brighton, where they supported the abolition of all private schools.
If I was being honest, I think with the way that private schools are at the moment, I don't know. I would have to give it more consideration. My gut feeling is quite possibly. I think that separating rich and poor kids can do
more harm than good.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know, because I'm not an education expert. I'm a student that's going into uni in like a month. I have no
Ewan
clue.
is a child,
And
therefore has no
I'm
valid
not a child
opinion.
anymore, thank you very much.
And
My
that's
apologies.
that's the thing. I think the focus shouldn't be on bringing everyone, because it's an indisputable fact that private schools produce better grades than public schools.
Yeah, I mean...
So the focus should be on getting public schools to that level so that private schools aren't a thing. People shouldn't be segregated in education based on class, is the thing.
I think also, not to defend private schools, because I don't really have an opinion on them. I'm not, as Ewan said, well versed in them. But private schools tend to have a lower class size, so like there could only be like 10 people in one class because, not as many people can afford to go to private schools. And so therefore the teacher has more attention to problem students.
But if you were there, Ewan could have attended the Labour conference, for example, and you were there and you could vote. Would you vote yes or no? Just very, very, very black and white, just of interest.
I think I would vote yes because
is there an abstain option?
No. Would you keep it very black and white, Ewan?
I would vote.
We know how Archie feels about abstinence boxes. We're not going to go there.
We're not going to go there.
That episode was edited out.
Can I explain why I'd vote yes first?
Please.
I think if we have more teachers, therefore in public schools we can lower the class sizes down, because I think there was like at one point I had like 30 people in one of my classes and one teacher. For one teacher to spend an equal amount of time in a 50-minute lesson on 30 people, it's not viable. So troubled students or students with problems were getting more attention, and I don't have a problem with that. But if we had lower class sizes, everyone would get equal amount of attention, if that makes sense. And I was in a class where there was like 7 people in it because of the certain subject I took. And we all got the right amount of help that we needed because there was only 7 people. So there was like, and one, I think there was one teacher. I think at one point we had 2 because we had a trainee one in. But, that we all had equal amount of time and we all got the help we needed because there were smaller class sizes. So
this is support the model, but not the fees.
Yes.
I
shouldn't think you should have to pay to get a better education. Yeah. Education should be free.
Yeah, it's very similar to my view on healthcare. I think it's a human right that should be guaranteed to everyone.
Without moving on to healthcare, because Archie might just have an aneurysm. What was I going to say? I
highly doubt I'm going to have an aneurysm. I'm just going to collapse
of stuff we've said
here.
today that have started
my
an
head's
argument.
just going to go explode. No,
seriously.
Oh, ciao. Anyway, so
I
think you'll find my heart rate's still pretty low. So,
honestly, having heard Bruce's argument, I'd probably vote yes. I think that it's a complicated issue that isn't a yes or no answer though. But onto smaller class sizes, I like that brings us around quite nicely to the events of the past couple of weeks with the exams algorithm. And the thing is, if you've noticed, the kids in smaller classes tend to get higher grades with the way the algorithm was done. So,
you can't apply statistical models work best with a giant data set,
exactly.
and you can't have a giant data set for 10 people.
Yeah.
It's
So
nonsense.
that's why private schools have come off quite well, including Eton, which had literally 0 of its results downgraded these last.
I'm shocked.
That's either because they already knew
Consider
the
me
statistical model,
surprised. But yeah, without getting into Eton, because Eton needs to just be burned down as an institution.
It was definitely a postcode lottery that
Yes,
it is. And this is a kind of point where, weirdly for us, there's not going to be a whole lot of debate here because it's so clearly a mess. I don't think any of us are going to sit here and say, no, they did it well.
No,
I think the government did have a hard job.
Yes.
But they did it in such a way that, like, not even I, as someone who, will be devil's advocate, I can't even explain what's going. Like, I can't even defend, because they really said, it's your problem now.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
I think the UK government has really sort of dropped the ball on this one. Dr. Allenson, however, has done a brilliant job the past couple of weeks.
He definitely defended students, I think.
Commendations to Dr. Allenson.
Big up.
Because I don't think CIE was originally going to change our exam results back.
No,
I think some pushing from like.
I think the main point which made CIE change, as they mentioned in their statement, I think it was on the 17th.
Yes.
In the latest statement, is because the UK had changed. Scotland changed. Then Northern Ireland, like after few days after the exam results changed. Then day after Wales changed in the morning. Then in the afternoon, England changed, and Cambridge were like, we have lots of pupils here and worldwide, and national exam boards where they're international. National exam boards changed to using
central assessed
grades, and therefore they need to stay competitive, and that was kind of the big push there.
I really don't understand why the Isle of Man government use CIE, because all the teachers that I have that teach CIE hate teaching CIE.
It was a consultation which was done, I think, in like 2015, which the parents and the teachers basically
do get a choice.
The parents and the people of the island chose CIE as best option, because CIE has, to give it to them, they have more coursework than if you look at they do have more coursework.
I know.
Than we don't like them, but I think they are better than some UK examples.
Cancel CIE.
I personally have a massive bone to pick with CIE, but that's because I was in the first year group to go through CIE for GCSEs, so it was a bit of a chaos for us.
Well, there's this new syllabus and teachers didn't know.
Yes,
what's happening.
exactly. I think there are definitely some advantages to CIE, because at A-level history we didn't have any coursework at all. It was totally exam based, and I do well off exams for some reason. And I think because you can choose to do CIE or not on the Isle of Man. Not you as a student, but the teachers can. So, like,
it's CIE or Wales needs to stay A star to G.
Yeah, I mean, but like I've done like EdXL and OCR.
That's
I've done
A levels.
OCR
Yeah,
as well.
Sure.
But I think CIE can do good sometimes, but I think their like level of support isn't exactly great, because again, mentioning Ben, because Ben just seems to keep coming up. Ben had a bit of a thing with CIE because you couldn't get any history resources from them at all.
Ben's Ewan's new favourite person.
I
assume you're talking about Ben Sharpio, best Conservative commentator out there.
Ben.
You're sure
McGee.
not? Oh no! Oh no!
Big up. We had Ben on.
We had Ben on.
Ben was on the monarchy episode last season. We love you, Ben.
We love you, Ben. Yeah. Well, we don't love your monarchy views, but
other than that, we love you.
No, monarchies. We're not getting
that. Anyway,
but in regards to the exam results, would you agree that there has obviously been grade inflation?
Yes, but I don't think there's any way you can avoid that and not screw over a lot of students.
It's better than the stories we were hearing about people who were predicted AAA and ended up with BBD.
There was someone who was predicted like A star AA and got like a B, an E, and a U. Or something on BBC.
And it's like, okay, there has been some grade inflation, and yes, it will mean that in years to come, some of the grades will be looked on with less legitimacy. That was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And I think it's better that than actually ruining people's lives, which it was doing.
A lot of people. I've been sorry to cut you off.
No, please go.
I've been on University of Liverpool group chats, and a lot of people have been screwed over by this thing. A lot of people have come through clearing. I actually had to talk to the University of Liverpool staff because my offer was initially denied, and then I had to go back through clearing once I got them to accept me, because I was like, I would have made it if not for whatever the hell has happened the past couple of months. Yeah. So what I want to pick your guys' brains on is exam reforms. So I've spoken about this with my friends a little bit, but I wanted to get your view on how we could change the exam system for the better. So the stuff that I've heard that I thought would be quite good is changing the academic start date for university to January, which universities have wanted to do for a while now, but keeping the A-level and GCSE dates at the same time. So you can sit the November series of exams. For those who don't know, you can, once you've got exams in August, you can put in to sit the exam again in November and get your grades, which is an option for students this year as well. So you can sit the November series of exams, get your results, put them to the uni, and then get into the start of the academic year. So being sort of screwed over by either your teacher or the exams board, in this case, doesn't put you out of an entire year of your life.
I'd say this was a very rare case because obviously
Yeah.
exams have even in the World War II, World War One, exams have never been cancelled.
This is an unprecedented event, although I will say they should have seen it coming.
Yeah.
There should be some form of contingency plan with off-call to go, exams are cancelled. I'm actually
even,
quite surprised there wasn't.
Or
considering
even
the amount of
one
contingency.
exam. Even if you had a protocol for the geography
They do-
exam
they-
for this year has been cancelled
Yeah,
because
they've got those.
the Queen has died or whatever.
That
Because
doesn't. They'll just move it later.
Yeah.
But no, but
The
in,
Queen.
but in regards, there are already. I think they just expanded the usual exceptional cases where maybe you're ill for your whole exam series, and then your teachers, what has happened to us will happen to those pupils in the usual sense. But they've just expanded that to everyone.
Yeah.
But in regards to exam reform, there's benefits to moving it later, and there's also downsides because if you sit your exam in June, your A levels, you get your results in August. You have to wait till January to get it to go into university. There's a big gap without maybe academic learning where you're out of that system for a while. We've all been off since March,
5
and
months,
I know
six,
especially when I go back to sixth form, and I know many people, it'd be a giant shock from having no work whatsoever to suddenly loads of work, and that's where it is in 2 months. Yes, it's a long 3 months. It is a while, 4 months, but having 8 months is just crazy. It's like having almost a year off school. Like people who do gap years, that's why universities, unless you do something in gap year, which is maybe like volunteering or something, they don't like it.
I would say it's actually a really good opportunity to get work experience in.
yeah.
I would think if the government could perhaps work with companies and go, look, we're going to extend the gap between A levels and uni, GCSEs as well. GCSEs you can just start the academic year as usual. That doesn't really matter, because sitting the November series of GCSEs, you basically
can do
need
that in sixth form.
Because a lot of people just get into sixth form as long as you've got 3 Cs, so that's not really a concern. I mean, people still don't get into sixth form. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm just saying as long as you get baseline level, you can get into sixth form. It's not like with uni where you need to make an offer on whatever it is, and a lot of people can go for quite high grades. So
but in regards, are you asking for the application to university to happen after you have grades rather than be based on predicted?
I don't know about that one, because that's another thing I've heard. I was talking about the academic
Otherwise,
start date, but
is there a need to change the academic start date? It doesn't matter. If you change the academic start date, you might as well. Australia have academic start date in January. You might as well just put exams in December. Then there's no, unless you're asking for you to then apply to university after the grades. There's no real need
that's
to
actually a good idea.
apply in August. I thought that's what we were referring to,
No,
because
what I was saying was,
the
so-
Higher Education Council in the UK was wanting to. Sorry, Michael Gove, one of his big things which he wanted originally.
It's getting hard.
I'm not a giant fan of him. Let's say that, but he wanted to move the academic start date for universities to January in order. I think it's Dominic, it's someone in government anyway. I think it might have been Labour, but I can't remember. They wanted to move it till January to then let the students apply with the real grades rather than predicted. But that's why I thought you were going. But obviously you meant something different, and I got a bit confused.
I'd actually forgotten about that one. I think that one's good as well. I think applying when you've got your grades rather than applying based on predicted, spending the next 5 months bricking it, going, I don't know whether I'm going to make my grades now, and then getting there and either making the grades and getting a massive sense of relief on not making the grades and kind of being, well, like, I'm kind of screwed now because I thought I was going to make the grade.
Doesn't it give you some motivation? If you have
No.
if you have AAA and you're like, I have to make that offer and I'm
It's-
going on B, it makes you work harder because you know want to make that offer. But if you just say, oh well, we just see what you get, like in GCSEs, there's not as much motivation.
As a former A-level student, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I've spoken to like quite a lot of A-level students, and they're all like, it's brilliant to have a goal in mind and have that thing to work to because it gets you.
I'm gonna
I
be
think
honest,
there
my
are-
brother, when you went through that, I never heard him say that once.
Yeah. Nobody
I would be
ever-
really
What's that?
interested.
I've
Really?
been,
I
I've been in
know.
sixth form for 2 years. I've never heard anyone say that.
I'd be really interested.
I mean,
to
sure, you
meet
might have
those
people that are like that, but I think the general consensus is it's a lot of undue stress on students. Which, and to be fair, one thing I have heard quite a lot is A-levels are the hardest part of education because you're doing 3 level 3 qualifications all at the same time, plus 1 if you're mental, and you decide to do 4 A-levels because you genuinely don't like yourself. Like me, I did. So this year I've not done 4 A-levels per se. Last year I did history.
Yeah, Ewan called himself mental there, guys. We can say it.
Okay. History, physics, and maths last year. And then this year I dropped maths because I got an A.
Good move.
I hate maths. Got into this year, haven't cared about physics the entire time, so I was supposed to take an AS, but I've still been doing history, and I took up the entire politics A level this year. So I've basically been sitting through 4 sets of classes plus an EPQ.
Wow.
And I can tell you right now, it is stressful as hell.
Are those some grey
Dude.
hairs I'm seeing, Ewan?
Honestly, possibly, it was a stressful time.
I think
yeah.
I think they should move the university date to January.
Yeah,
You know, I'm not an A-level student, but I am going into A-levels.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good opportunity for students who, you know, are kind of struggling in the financial department to kind of seek work and save up some money and then move away from home. Because I think, like, the majority of people move away from home to go to university. Obviously, you do get, like, people who... Not very many people I know stay on island and go to UCM, but people do stay on island and go to UCM. But I think in the Isle of Man, it's very much, I'm going to university, I'm going to move to England or Northern Ireland or Wales or Scotland or wherever.
Move somewhere else.
Yeah, move away, and I'm going to, you know, live independently away from my parents. And that's I think, a really good opportunity, and it, you know, gives you a sense of the real world.
Yeah.
Because children don't know what the real world is and what hard work is. They don't know.
Anyone that's listening to this that is like, oh, should I go to university? Get off the Isle of Man. Honestly, seriously, by the time you get to A-levels, it's a little bit boring.
Even if you just go for like a gap year off the Isle of Man,
yeah,
I feel like everyone should live...
See the world, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See the world.
I think it's a massive appeal of uni in England is the fact that you can go and live independently in accommodation. And you can always come back to the Isle of Man, because I have a friend who's been studying in college in England, probably not listening to this.
They have a life.
Yes, but no, he went to college in Worcester, and he like I was talking to him about coming back to the Isle of Man, and he was like, honestly, it's nice to romanticize about living on the Isle of Man and be like, oh, I miss the Isle of Man, I miss the views and stuff. It's boring as hell being here, though.
Especially as a youth, I think.
Yes, that's one of the things is like. I think it's if it's not already a problem for the Manx government, it will become a problem for the Manx government, where people are taking the university money and just going. That's my plan. I'm not coming back. I'll come back for
Maybe
this.
we shouldn't publicise that, Ewan.
I
think-
think that's the majority of what people are
that's
going
what
to
a
do.
lot of
That's
people
like
do. A lot of people go, get the degree, go and work somewhere in the UK and make money with actual opportunities, and then come back.
I think the Isle of Man's very much like a family island due to the low crime rate, the scenery, and like...
Ewan says
weather.
that, and now it comes back to haunt him in 10 years when he reappears.
The thing is like, I will raise my kids here, but I'm not sure I want to spend my 20s here, you know?
Yeah. Ewan's going to go out to Ibiza, become a DJ, and live his 20s there.
If you want to stay on the Isle of Man, by all means. I mean, if you like it here, then that's fine. I just think that there's a lot more opportunity in England, and I think that's kind of the sentiment of a lot of people my age.
I feel like even if you do want to stay on the Isle of Man, you should move away, or at least, like, I was going to say go on holiday.
go on holiday, guys.
But like, yeah, I think you should at least like move away to, whether it be England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, you know, Guernsey maybe.
Yeah, if you seriously like living on a small island with nothing to do, but you want it to be more posh, go to Guernsey.
Guernsey.
But
Go to Guernsey.
I think that's a really nice place for us to sort of wrap it up. So just to sort of summarise, we've spoken about like exams and how they should be changed. our experience with exams and education and the teaching profession. And there's a lot of stuff we've covered, but there's a lot of stuff we haven't covered. So I think this kind of leaves a lot of room for another education episode at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe
Obviously not this season.
get what's his name, Dr. Allenson on.
Dr.
If-
Allenson, if you're listening and you want to come on, please contact us.
Please do.
It would be great. So I think it's probably time to move on to current affairs.
Have you got the jingle on, Ewan?
I do not have the jingle on, and I'm not going to.
Oh no! Oh,
We can't do current affairs.
No, can't do current affairs. No.
We can't have Archie playing around with the.
No, it wasn't
board,
Man
putting
Online.
Man
No. We had a brilliant jingle last week. If you listened
Did
to
we?
it, Ewan.
Ah.
Ewan didn't listen to the news.
I was
oh,
barely
dear.
conscious,
So,
Archie.
Yeah, but you've had a whole week.
He's had a
to
whole
listen,
week, not even
Ewan.
caught up, Ewan.
That is pretty bad.
I know,
We
pretty
know-
bad. Yeah.
Why is everyone hitting their mics today? I'm
It's-
so
we're
sorry.
really- yeah, we've been
We've all
really
just
all-
hit our mics.
If you just keep hearing,
Yeah,
it's because we're just incompetent.
This episode's been a bit.
Or
of
we're
a
just
mess
annoyed at
because,
Ewan.
Like, I'm on the desk and Archie's not.
Yes, and we can just. Sorry,
This will be
annoyed
good.
Ewan. Sorry, Ewan. I'm still annoyed that you haven't listened to last week's episode. That's your homework for this week.
I did. I listened to the start of it and then I was
Not all
like,
of
I
it.
feel so awful. I can't concentrate on this. and
You've
I
had
didn't
a
pick it
week,
back
Ewan.
up.
We know who carries the podcast now, guys. It's me and Sam, obviously.
Okay.
No, just appreciate you carry it.
I carry
Obviously,
it.
just
you-
Breach.
Breacher carries the
Breacher.
the
I do
podcast
carry the
by
podcast.
You
herself.
do.
I mean-
Adding the pulp culture references, brilliant.
The
brilliant.
pop culture.
We haven't had any this episode.
I
have
I
know.
we?
was gonna
That's
make
kind
a
of
One
bad.
Direction joke because Ewan was like, "We made it," and I was gonna be like, "Yeah." In the words of Louis Tomlinson, "We made it, guys," because he has a song
Oh,
called
brilliant.
"We Made It," and
Yeah,
it's
we
actually
are-
kind of good. And
One
I nearly
Direction's bad.
And we're going to move on because
Louis
it's, no, we
Tomlinson
don't need to hear
carries
about
One
One Direction.
Okay, Breacher, very cool.
he
So,
does.
Yeah, but
Alright.
if you had listened to last week's episode, Ewan, you'll realise we had the news music on. It was very good for current affairs. Read through the headlines we're going to cover. and
that's
it was,
nice, Archie.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
very nice.
See,
So-
did you see my face? This
Boom,
is the face
boom.
someone doesn't get.
That's the yeah.
Anyway,
Current affairs.
So,
Ooh, ciao. Anyway, so
what's going on in the world, lads? Does anyone want to kick us off with the first article?
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris has been
Kamala
nominated
Harris.
as Biden's VP.
Boo.
Not good. We don't.
grrr,
Yeah,
is what
So,
Archie's put
something
on
we're
the doc.
actually all in agreement here, but I think we all
None of us
dislike her.
Kamala Harris
We dislike
or
her for
Joe Biden.
different
We
reasons.
do. We
Yes.
dislike her for different reasons.
Archie thinks she's too left wing. We think she's too right wing.
Hang on, Archie. Do you legitimately think she's too left wing?
She's just not very good.
No.
Okay,
To be
okay.
fair, yeah,
They're
she's-
That's
all
not what I
awful.
said. But do you think Kamala Harris is too left wing?
On the America of the thing is, the American spectrum and the British spectrum are totally different.
that is true, actually.
Yeah.
For those who aren't really clued into American stuff, so Kamala Harris is Joe Biden's new vice presidential pick. She's a former police officer, and she's been a member of a member of the Democrats for a while. So I don't know what they're laughing about, but they're laughing.
don't
at
worry.
You'll find out, Ewan. It's
Find out,
fine.
Ewan.
Don't worry.
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. Keep
I'm
going.
stressed out now.
Big Cammy
Yeah,
H.
so when it comes to American politics, the left and right wing is sort of skewed. So, like the whole political compass in the US is shifted.
Hello and welcome to this week's current affairs. Sorry,
We're
I had to
gonna
do
get
it.
copyrighted,
Had to do that.
Archie.
Had to do that for you.
Thank
Ed,
you.
sorry.
Yeah, because the
Archie,
BBC
very
is
cool.
just gonna come after us.
I know.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Just
mean,
is
it might.
gonna happen.
Anyway, yeah. So the whole American political spectrum has moved a bit to the right of us.
It's all a bit of a mess
Just
in
a
America,
bit.
really.
There's a lot. There's a lot of history behind why it's like that. But basically, a lot of American leftism here is like basically Tony Blair,
Yeah.
Labour.
Big tone.
I think Corbyn is left of Bernie Sanders a little bit.
Yeah.
And also not very good, but we'll avoid that
We'll
part. there.
avoid that one because I will reach over the desk and strangle Archie.
Please do, yeah.
Archie's into
Oh.
it.
No! I'd love to see Ewan try and scramble over computer desks.
He wants to. All right.
And it just
Move,
caused
all
so
right.
much
All right.
damage.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention have been kicked off this week in the US. And there's been a lot of stuff going on with the Democratic National Convention. Anyone got anything they want to point out?
Well, all the fact we just know is Biden, as expected, is just confirmed as a nomination. It's not very. I wouldn't say it's very exciting.
No way.
Are we
I
ready?
know it's quite
Biden's
shocking
been
there.
confirmed?
It's gonna be. I
brilliant.
cannot wait for Joe
Trump to win.
Biden and Donald Trump to debate in the same room.
I will.
Joe
put-
Biden will
yeah.
probably forget what he's saying
Yeah.
midway through the sentence.
The thing is, I prefer Joe Biden, who is a borderline dementia patient, to Donald Trump, because at least if he gets his president, someone can take over from him. But Trump's malicious.
Yeah, Kamala
But
Harris could
that's
take
the
over.
thing,
Can
for
I
it.
put money on it now? I will bet any of you a tenner that Donald Trump wins this election.
but we're not going to bet against you there, Ewan.
I'll bet
I feel like
I
feel like I should just for
Yeah,
Just
To
for
be
the
able-
chance of a tenner.
I will bet he will lose.
you bet he'll lose.
Tenner.
You've
tenner.
heard it here first.
Tenner. I'll
Got-
bet he will lose.
gotta go shake
I don't think
on
he
it.
will, but I've got
It's
to.
fine,
Someone
it's on
has to have
camera.
hope.
It's on
So
camera.
it's on camera.
It's on camera, on recording.
£10 says Donald Trump loses.
You're gonna lose £10 now. So.
I know.
Yeah, you are going to lose £10. That's
I mean,
gonna be my
Kanye
tenner.
could win
I'm going to
because
spend
he's in
that
a.
on beers.
You
That's good.
Kanye
Could
just
do.
can't win. No.
Kanye West is going to.
Kanye, in a turn of events, Kanye could win.
Yes.
Steve
In
Bannon.
your dreams. In your dreams.
Is that his name? Steve
Yeah, Steve
Bannon?
Bannon was arrested.
Oh, Steve Bannon. Yes. So
On-
this one's great. I love this one. So Steve Bannon has been indicted on fraud charges in the US. Steve Bannon is a former advisor to Trump.
Yeah, as Steve Bannon would say, these are trumped up fraud charges.
Yes.
Oh.
Very funny.
Getting the puns in there.
It was like why we build the wall or something was his campaign.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It basically he was starting up a campaign.
Bruce
to-
is dying there. Don't worry, it's not coronavirus, but coronavirus is free for about 97 days
I
now.
swallowed
so
my
basically-
spit the
To get
wrong
tested,
way.
though.
Sorry.
No, but,
Lovely.
Lovely.
You're welcome. Well, you brought attention to it, so I thought I
true.
should cover up mine.
But yeah, he's been indicted on charges of fraud because he started up a political active movement about building the wall on the US Mexico border, and him and a bunch of his cronies, I think there's 3 of them in total, have taken money from that has been donated for purposes of building the wall and have used it on their own personal expenses.
That's what's been alleged. We
Yeah,
can't
so
obviously
He's
confirm
been charged
this.
with it. We all know he did it.
He
But
said he's
actually
not
gotta
guilty.
maintain his centrism. So
I feel
I'm
like
not centrist, Ewan. I think you've seen my political spectrum. If I was centrist, oh dear.
at this point, I feel like the wall.
I wouldn't be
between-
alive, let's just say that, because Ewan would have just shot me in the head by now.
At this point, the wall between Mexico and America would benefit Mexico more than America.
Honestly.
yes, that's what a lot of
Mexico's
people
like,
have
yes,
been
we'll
saying.
pay for it. Please, build
Please,
it, build it.
we don't want to be
At,
associated
at
with you.
this point, with the US being coronavirus central, I think you actually make a fairly valid point. Like
Yeah.
at this point, Mexico can do with the wall, so maybe they will pay for it.
Canada's just started building a fence.
Yeah.
Canada have actually gotten quite restrictive with US Canada crossings.
Good.
Yeah, apparently
because
Steve Bannon.
Canada are smart.
Steve Bannon used the money from his anti-immigrant group "We Will Build the Wall" on personal
Yeah.
expenses.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had to emphasise "We will build the wall" because yes,
it's in
that's what he
air
wants.
quotes.
Air quotes.
Okay, so now on to Putin's critic has been poisoned.
Poutine.
I mean, not
in-
surprising.
In a shocking move, his tea was poisoned, as with like so many other Putin critics. It's basically Putin's MO at this point.
Yeah.
But interestingly, this is probably
He's going back onto Thatcher quotes. He's gonna.
yeah, no, I'm not
If
going
you-
back
if you
onto
quote
Thatcher
Thatcher,
quotes.
it's
No,
worse.
no,
So
no, no.
it's just an article on Thatcher.
But interestingly,
Thatcher died because of poisoning.
yes, no,
Putin killed
yeah.
Thatcher.
Putin did kill Thatcher.
He
Yes.
was an ex. He's an ex KGB.
I know, no,
operative.
but the point is, it's interesting because the critic, he's actually in a room, not a hotel room, hospital room, and it's surrounded by policemen protecting him. So whether they're protecting him or protecting him is a matter that we don't know.
Can I just say, if Putin had killed Margaret Thatcher, I'd be a bigger fan of him.
Honestly.
What a mood.
So we can make you a fan of
Yeah,
Putin by simply saying
if it
he
comes out
killed-
that Putin killed Margaret Thatcher,
If Margaret
He's my
Thatcher
favourite
comes back to
dictator.
life and Putin kills her, yes, we will be a bigger fan of him.
Yes, let's get Margaret Thatcher back to life.
No,
that would
let's
be a
not.
good thing for the country.
Maggie is
Let's
in the mud.
let's
Let's leave her
resuscitate
there.
her. Let's resuscitate
Anyway,
her and
without
then get
getting
Putin
into-
to kill her.
Without getting into that, because
Anyway.
Because we all know she's great.
Some
Woo,
people
chow.
may
Anyway,
find,
that's a hot
some
take,
people may
Archie.
find our talk about Maggie offensive, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
Maggie's in the mud.
Maggie's
Ding
on the
dong, the witch
pedestal.
is
Anyway.
dead.
What the hell is happening in Belarus, guys? Jesus.
What
I
is
don't know,
happening
what
in
is
Belarus?
happening?
No one
Nobody
knows.
Yeah.
So why are we supposed to know now?
Well,
No,
we can talk vaguely about what has happened.
What's speculated to have happened?
So, for those who don't know, Belarus, a country on the Russian border in Eastern Europe. One sec, let me just put my laptop down. So, because it's the last news article. So, Belarus is a country on Russia's eastern border. They gained independence in the 90s, and much like Russia, they've had a dictator since they've become independent, right?
Sure, yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he's
He's like
he's a-
he's the longest
Yeah.
serving dictator in.
But the
Europe.
thing is,
they call
he's
him
still
Europe's last
he's
dictator.
still popular. He still has
True.
elections.
Yes.
Which must
So-
really piss Putin off.
Yeah.
When-
Yeah, So the thing is with Belarus at the moment is that there's been a lot of chaos because there was an election and the opposition opponent was defeated under mysterious circumstances and has decided to flee the country. And there's been riots, and I'm pretty sure they shut down the internet, didn't they?
They
Probably.
did some. They have taken some pretty extreme actions.
It
against the
wouldn't be like a
protesters.
dictatorship to shut down the people's voice.
No, not at all.
No. How could you think something so absurd, Brisha?
Yes. It wouldn't be a dictatorship. That would be.
Hmm.
Be
Oh,
mental.
and
It would just
interestingly,
be a phenomenon or whatever it's called, an anomaly even.
we're
It
talking of
wouldn't be a
elections.
dictatorship if, for example, we shut down protests by sending the police in there
Mm.
to get very violent with them, would it?
No.
That wouldn't be a dictatorship, would it?
What? No.
No
Big think moment. Anyway,
Um,
without
Well,
talking
anyway-
US politics again.
Anyway, we're talking about elections. We have one here next week.
Is it
On
next week?
Thursday, yes.
Oh,
we
wow.
won't get too into it because we would have to then name every single candidate, and that's
Yes.
a pain.
If we talk about any of the candidates,
We will be
uh,
naming every single
neutrality-
candidate.
There's 11.
guidelines
There's
state-
11
yeah.
of them, so we
Nu-
don't have the
There's
time.
not-
or
there's
the
not-
nine,
resources.
nine.
Oh,
Yeah.
9.
Yeah,
there's 9
now.
of them
Oh,
now.
right.
Neutrality guidelines dictate that we would have to mention all of them equally. So what we're going to say is there is an election next Thursday. If you're in
Vote for who
South,
you want.
South Douglas, go out and vote. We'll probably try and get the winners on here. But, I mean, we need to get in touch with them. So
Yeah.
this isn't planned. This is just something
Let's
we'd
just
like.
see what happens.
It's something we mentioned when we were in like the lobby earlier. So we'll see what happens. But either way, we'll talk about it next week because
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I watched the interview that was on Agenda, and one
Yeah.
of the ladies kept blinking, and it was kind of a bit disconcerting. I was like, is she okay? Because she just kept blinking. So yeah, that's my hot take. It was I watched the Agenda interview that Manx Radio did. It's very good. It's with five of the candidates, and then they're doing 5 next week because there was a lot.
Yeah.
Or they've got 4 next week if there's 9 candidates. I don't know. I don't need to do maths anymore. I'm not doing it at A levels, so
Thank goodness.
thank goodness. I really put the T in maths because I'm so bad. They had to give me a T.
Okay.
And
tell you
moving
what
on, is there anything left for us to talk about?
I don't know.
I think that's
Yeah,
it.
that's it. We've managed to wrap up a PolitiBabble episode in 50 minutes. That's got to be a PolitiBabble
Archie's.
No,
absolutely-
we did manage about 14 on our season 2 pilot, Ewan. We've not,
right,
we've not
yes.
beaten that. And our promos were only like 30 seconds, so.
Yeah,
Thank
you
God.
know what I mean, though. For a full episode, for us to wrap this up in 50 minutes, I'm impressed. Well done, guys.
Yeah.
It's been a good week.
We'll have to leave our music to play out for the next half an hour just to make sure we have it.
I need to remember.
Come on, you in this big
Click,
moment.
click play and then bring up.
You want just click
Uh,
play, it'll be
click
fine.
play.
Am I clicking play at 30
Yes,
seconds?
no, just click play,
Yeah,
just click
just-
play, just click. Oh.
Archie, come on.
Archie,
you can
calm
do
down,
this.
it's fine.
Sorry, I'm malfunctioning now. Yeah.
The lizard in him is
Click
just.
play, click play. No, I'm
doesn't-
joking.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, look, I found the outro music, guys.
hooray!
You're not a
Um,
silly
That
bully.
that was a shock there.
Yes.
You've been PolitiBabbled. See you next
Thank
week.
you for listening.
Slaters.
It's been great being on the desk. I probably won't ever be on the desk again because I'll be off island
Yeah.
before I can do it.
Well,
Quotes and
we've been
kisses.
we've been the PolitiBabble.
Yes,
Au revoir.
it's been a pleasure.
I think there's probably still loads of music left. I
Yes,
don't know.
there's like
yeah.
30 seconds
Yeah.
of music left.
So enjoy.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought we finished. Good job I did.
Oh, right. Oh, we still got. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm going to turn the mics down now. Thank you for
Okay.
listening to PolitiBabble.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well.
sorry.
I